Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing my go-to makeup routine, my kind of tried and tested, this is what I do on a pretty average day, but when I've got some time, so not a 5-minute school run, running out the door, throwing makeup at my face, but maybe the weekend, maybe just a normal day, you know, where I might be having lunch with my husband or just going about our day with the children and I want to look my best. I want to spend time doing my makeup and self-caring because for me, makeup is self-care. So I might want to spend 30 to 40 minutes getting ready and just feeling my best. And this is what I do. I'm going to be sharing my go-to products, all of the tools and brushes that I use, and just the whole order and routine of everything that I do on an average made up day. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I said, this is not like a school run, it's 9 a.m. and we're running out the door kind of makeup day. This is like, you know, a weekend or a weekday when I've got some kind of plans, you know, maybe my husband and I are going for lunch or we're going for a coffee or, you know, just running errands, going about my day, not necessarily a filming day, but just a day when I have time to do my makeup, but I'm not going like full glam. This is kind of my go-to makeup look for those kinds of days. Nothing necessarily special planned, but I do have time to kind of do my makeup, more than 5 minutes, you know. So I'm starting off with the Pink Honey brow gel or wax, I guess this is, and the spoolie that comes with it. I do have my brows laminated, but they're like running out of lamination now. So this is what I use and this is what I've been enjoying to use when my brows are like not freshly laminated and they won't stay without some help. So I tend to do that first, and then because I just want to give that a second to kind of set down and dry before I go in with my brow pencil, I do primer next. And of course I'm using my Tom Ford Soft Matte Primer, my favorite primer, definitely my kind of go-to everyday primer. And this is how I kind of like time and space things out so that, you know, my brow products have time to work their way into the skin and my primer has plenty of time because I'm going to do eyes before I go in with foundation. So next I'm using my absolute holy grail, tried and true Huda brow pencil. I don't do a lot with my brows because as I have them, you know, laminated and tinted, the tint doesn't really last very long, but I sometimes have started to tint my brows at home, like in between appointments, and just I really like how they look tinted. It gives you extra hairs you didn't know you had, and I feel like you need to do less to your brows. I know like the fluffy brows that I love are not for everybody, but they are for me, so that's really all that matters. So I am a bit bald at the front of my brow. This brow is better than this one, has like no hair at the front, so I just kind of add a few hairs in there and just a little bit of filling in. So when it comes to like priming my eyes for eyeshadow, I like to use the Nars Soft Matte Pot Concealer with my Rephr 32, and I just slightly carve out the brows. I don't really give them a lot of a carving out, kind of like to keep that quite natural, and I just buff a bit of this concealer into the skin, really like just tones down the redness and discoloration on my lids. Really thin layer. I don't really use this concealer like, well, I don't use this concealer under the eyes or anything like that because it is quite a sort of heavier formula, but it's perfect used on this sort of fluffier brush for eyeshadow priming. I tend to just kind of lightly run that between my brows as well, just to get rid of that sort of redness that I have there, and it's easier to use that than it is to, you know, get foundation down there, so I kind of tend to use that in between the brows as well. Next I use my Pat McGrath powder. This is her like under eye setting powder, and my Rephr 18 brush to set that concealer. This is the medium shade of the powder, which is kind of closest to my skin tone. I don't use this under the eyes unless it's summer and I'm a bit more tanned. but it's perfect to set that powder down and give me like kind of a natural skin tone color as a base for my eyeshadow. Now I know this is not for everybody, but for me, if I have like a day when I can use whatever I want and I want to be like soft glam, I want to like wear, you know, makeup. I'm not trying to go for like a no makeup look, but it's also not like a night out. I love using a Mothership, and you guys know my favorite is Mothership X, Mothership 10. This is my favorite Mothership. I love using Motherships like day to day. So for some people, these will be like nights out full glam only. But for me, this is the eyeshadow palette or product that gives me like the most joy, and that's what I'm all about. I'm about makeup giving me joy and self-care and just pampering myself and enjoying myself, and this more than any other eyeshadow palette is what I enjoy to use. So I don't care that it's like, you know, glam and it's a lot of shimmer for day to day. I couldn't care less. That's what I live for. So I'm going to start off with this lightest matte and my Rephr 16. This is like my go-to kind of first eyeshadow brush. By the way, I really hope you can't hear the construction that I can hear currently going on. My neighbours are doing a full-on extension, like a massive extension, and you really just can't predict when it's going to be noisy and when it's not, and I hope you can't hear it. There's a lot of, I don't know if it's sawing, like chainsaw, that's what it sounds like. Hopefully everybody is fine and, you know, there's not a chainsaw massacre going on next door. But yeah, it is noisy, but I'm hoping my mic is doing a great job at kind of stopping you guys from being bothered by that. But I'm really sorry if you can hear anything weird. That's what's going on, a full-on extension. So yeah, I'm just giving this a good old wash throughout the crease, up towards the brow, in the hood, everywhere about the place, basically. Blending it nice and soft, not too much, just kind of something to work with, bit of a transition. And then I'm using my Rephr 27, which is like my favorite kind of fluffier brush, and the deep matte in here. This one can kind of look a bit intimidating, but used with this sort of fluffy brush from Rephr, it just really gives a bit of a cooler tone and it richens up the crease and gives you definition without it sort of giving you that really super rich, deep, cool brown shadow. It's just kind of giving you, it's carving out your crease and giving you definition, but in a really nice, soft way because that brush is so nice and fluffy. So today, my plans are that we are going for lunch at the little cafe in the village where we live. And let me tell you, this cafe does the best salads known to man. And I'm not really, well, I say a salad, it's basically a quiche with salad. And the salad, I couldn't care less about the quiche. Let me tell you, it's a nice quiche. I'm not gonna, you know, say it's not, but this salad is insane, okay? I'm gonna put a picture up because this is the stuff of dreams. I get so excited about it, and they're just the loveliest people. I can't tell you how much I love a farm shop or like a village cafe. I love it. Okay, so next I've swapped over to my Sonia G Worker, and I'm gonna use that same shade again, really lightly, and I'm just gonna bring this in to like the outer sort of third of my lid. Gonna give us a nice kind of bit of gradient between the shimmer. So the shimmer is not the whole lid, kind of focusing the shimmer on the inner part of the eye. It's just what I like, it's what I live for. I don't know why I'm doing anything that I'm doing. People ask me for tutorials. I'm not a makeup artist, I'm not a teacher. I'm just showing you what I do and we don't know why. But sharing is caring, you know? Sharing is caring. So now I've swapped over to my Sonia G Builder. Is that the one? Yes. And this shade here. And this is going to go all over my lid. It's a little darker at the moment, but I am going to use a topper shade that's going to brighten it up. I just love a Pat McGrath shadow. Like, this is just how I want my makeup to look every day, and I don't care if some people, you know, will find it too much. That's just none of my business. Just using my Rephr 33 to kind of soften the transition between the matte and that shimmer shade. And then with my Rephr 21, the flat brush, I'm going to go into this kind of special shade in this palette, and I'm just going to kind of pat that a little bit over the top of that gold, and you see that's going to lighten it up and just give me an extra bit of sparkle. You will get some fallout with these shades, especially if you use them like I am, without a like a glitter primer or using them wet. I will just tap them over, but that is why I do my eyes before my foundation, because then you can just cover all your glittery sins and no one cares. Do you know what I think a big lesson that I learned was that no one cares about your makeup, really. I just don't think anyone cares. I like set myself a goal of like not wearing makeup when like every day when my kids started school. I just realized like I didn't want to get up at 7 a.m. every day and start doing a full face of makeup, rather than like spending that time having breakfast with my kids and just chatting to them and helping them get ready and starting our day as a family. I didn't want to spend all this time hidden away doing my makeup. Also, having a YouTube channel, you know, you can't do your makeup. A lot of the time you have to do your makeup on camera, and I can't be filming a whole YouTube video but before the school run. There's just not enough time in the day. So a lot of the time I have to go on the school run without makeup because I've got to do my makeup on camera. And so I just got used to, you know, doing things like the school run and errands and things without makeup. And like I wear makeup less and less now, but when I do wear makeup, I go all in because I just love and enjoy doing it, and it's just fun. But I've definitely reached a place now where I really don't feel like I need makeup to go anywhere, and I just don't care what people think I look like. But I will tell you, not one single person has ever even seemingly noticed whether or not I'm wearing makeup. Other people don't care as much about our faces as I think we tell ourselves that they do. Just no one cares, they've got their own problems. So I'm going to use my Chanel No. 1 foundation today because I just feel like I've neglected it recently. I feel like, yeah, I need to show it some love. I kind of rotate my favourite foundations day to day. I want to go for a medium coverage, glowy skin-like finish that wears well. That's what I'm going for. So this one, the Nars one, the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate, the House Labs, the Hourglass, any of those will do. I just want a kind of a bit of luminosity, and I want a nice amount of coverage without it being super heavy. I want it to be comfortable. I want it to look natural and skin-like, and that's what we go for. So I'm using my Sonia G Jumbo base. I get asked all the time what my favourite foundation brush is, and this is it. Really any Sonia G foundation brush will do, but I think this is probably my favourite. By the way, I'm using BD41 in this Chanel because my face has not seen a ray of sun in like 3 months, and I am very fair for me right now. This is as fair as I get, and I'm hoping that soon we're going to start getting some sun, or you know, my poor summer foundation shades are just gonna like give up on ever being used again. So I really start out with a very thin layer, not just with this foundation, but with any of these kind of day-to-day foundations. I take it a little bit down my neck just to, you know, stop any kind of harsh line, and then I just kind of build up the coverage until I feel like my skin is evened out. I have like a fair bit of redness on my cheeks, so that's something I want to even out. Any blemishes, I'm going through like a bit of a retinol purging at the moment. I had to completely stop using retinol because my skin had like an angry time, and so I'm starting again with like the building up my retinol use, and so my skin is going through the purge. So any kind of blemishes, any discoloration, any redness, I just want to even everything out. I don't really carve out my brows, but I weirdly have this like real redness to my skin right above my brows, and so I do sort of want to cover that, but I'm not necessarily trying to like carve out the top of my brows. I like to leave the tops quite sort of fluffy and natural, but I also don't want like Rudolph the Red-Nosed eyebrows up there. I know that some people like love a matte foundation, but I literally can't fathom it for myself. Like the glow, I live for the glow, and I can't relate. But I do understand that if you are like oily, then basically you look like this with a matte foundation, and lucky you, honestly. I know you won't feel lucky, and the grass is always greener, isn't it? But it's the glowy life for me. Okay, so recently I have actually been really liking curling my lashes, and I like to do this with my Rephr Lash curler. I think it's just because my lashes are getting really really good now with the lash serum I've been using, the Rephr Lash serum. I've been loving it. My lashes are thriving, and yeah, I just like to give them a bit of a lift with this because I want them to be like maximum insanity. I don't always do it, but I do enjoy a bit of a lash curl every now and then, and you know, why not? Why wouldn't you? I know lots of people, you know, if you've got very straight lashes, that's like a necessary everyday step, but for me, I just kind of do it when I'm feeling extra. I've poked myself in the eye. Try not to cry. A free poem. Definitely a lot of mascara in that eye. Can we hold it together is the question. Now we've got hammering. We're having a little bit of everything today with the builders next door. Love it, loving life. I really need to get a better mirror to film with because now I've changed all of my setup. My mirror is quite far away, and that is why that happened, because I can't actually see what I'm doing. So I ended up with like half a tube of mascara in my eyeball, which is, you know, not necessarily intentional. So I like to go for like one coat of mascara and then I do my concealer. So I'm using my Dior concealer, definitely one of my kind of most used at the moment. And I like to do this in between mascara coats because one coat will just never be enough for me. Concealer in all the usual places. Did I forget to tell you it was the Charlotte Tilbury Push Up Lashes mascara I was using, by the way? And I feel like I just ceased to ever mention which mascara I'm using because it's just pretty much always that one. I sometimes use the MAC Stack, but this is still my holy grail and I love her. She's just perfect. So this is the BK Beauty A506 concealer brush. This is the Angie Hot and Flashy collab concealer brush and I love it. I like to carve my eyeshadow out a little bit so I can make like as much mess of it as I like and just come along and clean it up with this brush, and it looks, you know, like I've done a nice tidy job of it, which I promise is just never the case. You know, I like to kind of go back and forth with my lashes so they have time to dry between each coat, because that's how you get like the maximum kapow. So I'll go, you know, foundation, coat of mascara, concealer, coat of mascara, bronzer, coat of mascara, until my eyelashes enter the room approximately 2 minutes before I do. So of course I'm using my Pat McGrath setting powder under the eyes. This is the light shade, and as you can see, we're scraping the barrel. There's barely anything left. I'm using my Sonia G Detail Pro and I'm stretching the face and then pushing the powder into my lines. And this way, we're going to stop the creasing. We're going to fill those lines with powder till they can bother us no more. I like to get rid of the shine on the chin, the moustache around the nose, between the brows, and just that where I've laid down that concealer, and then I kind of pack the powder on my nose just to get rid of any shine and just to make sure that there's no excess. A little powder under the eyes as possible, really buffed in, but quite a lot on the nose just to stop any of that shiny little number popping through. But yeah, this powder is on its very last legs, okay? But don't worry, I have a backup, don't panic. Second coat of Charlotte Tilbury Push Up Lashes mascara, and now I've poked myself in the other eye, so that's good. It's nice that, you know, neither one feels left out. Good to like even them up, you know. So I'm briefly delving back into my Mothership with my Rephr 26 and that original shade, and I'm just going to run a bit of that under my lower lash line, tie everything together, hide all my lines and wrinkles. That's the secret. If you ever wonder why we're doing that, we're, you know, covering up the wrinkles. Don't tell the others. So for bronzer, again, I have a few bronzers I kind of switch up, but one of my most used is definitely my Victoria Beckham, and definitely my most used brush is my Jumbo bronzer. Now I like to start, because I don't set my foundation, I like to just start by tapping the bronzer in, because I feel like there's a danger if you go straight into unset foundation, start buffing, that something terrible will happen. We don't know what that is, but it'll be something bad. But we're just tapping to begin with, and once you've got that powder down, you've essentially set that area with the bronzing powder, so then you can start being a bit more haphazard. I don't really pick a shade, I just kind of dab between the two, and I just start blending and building up until I feel as bronzed as a goddess. I try to avoid the centre of my face, but I will say it's not always possible. I have quite a narrow area to work with because I've got a longer oval shaped face. So yeah, sometimes mistakes are made, okay? But we do our best. Now, I don't always do like a nose contour, but I do like a bit of bronzer on the nose. Otherwise, I just feel like it looks very stark and bold just in the middle of my face. If I do, I use my BK Beauty 206 very lightly, just down the sides. I'm not really trying to like contour my nose. I'm not trying to like make it, you know, more narrow, because I have quite a narrow nose as it is. You know, any more narrow and she may disappear altogether. I'm just trying to like remind people I have a nose. That's all I'm doing. I'd hate for you to forget. Now for highlighter, I realised during this process that almost all of the highlighters I use really often day to day are like limited edition. How flipping annoying of me and of these brands, but those just happen to be my favourites. The Chanel Rêve de Camellia, the Pat McGrath Divine Rose. A lot of these highlighters are like discontinued or limited edition, gone forever. So I've chosen to use the Charlotte Tilbury Champagne Glow because this is just one that I know you can get easily, and my Sonia G Face Pro. I just want a highlighter that's going to give me glowy cheeks, but not necessarily be like highlight in your face for the gods to see, you know? I have to use this highlighter very sort of light-handedly as possible because it's quite light for my skin tone, but if I use it lightly, it's lovely. I do really like a bit of highlight kind of between the brows. I just think that looks really pretty and I enjoy it. What can I tell you? The way it catches the light, super pretty for me. And I'm going to use my Rephr 28 and the same highlighter in my inner corner peepers and a little on the brow arch for good measure. Really blend it in though. I don't want like a crazy amount up there, just a small amount right in the highest point of the brow. Barely a day goes by when I don't use my Charlotte Tilbury Eye Cheat liner just to brighten up my eyes, and I saw this makeup artist on TikTok explain that she only uses this type of like brightening liner right in the center of the eye and not like the whole waterline, because it's brightening but it keeps it a bit more natural. And she actually uses a darker liner like on the outer part of the waterline, which I don't do, but you know, more power to her. So now I'm going to do my lower lashes. I don't feel like I need a third coat of mascara today, but I do want a little coat, a diddy coat on these lower lashes. My stomach is growling like a hippopotamus who has seen a tourist boat. I've never actually heard a hippopotamus growl, but I assume that it would be really loud and scary and rumbling, which is accurate description. So for blush, I'm like my kind of go-to everyday blush. I use any kind of glowy, pretty neutral blush. Again, a lot of the ones I use day to day are like discontinued or limited edition, but some of my favorites are Chanel's Alizane, Pat McGrath Desert Orchid, Nars Tempted, and this new one from Dior. This is the Lupine 468, and my favorite blush brush is the Sonia G Detail from the Lotus series, Lotus collection, I should say. This is just the perfect blush brush if you are heavy-handed, if you try to keep your blush quite high on your cheeks and you don't want it coming too far in and you want to, you know, build colour up rather than having to blend out a lot of colour. This is the perfect fluffier, lighter brush that just deposits the perfect amount of colour in a really beautifully diffused way. This blush, a lot of people have been asking me, it is the same number as the neutral shade from the Birds of a Feather collection. I think from last year, was that spring last year? So it is like a re-promoted shade, but I did kind of do some comparisons on my Instagram, and this one is definitely a little bit more pigmented and a bit smoother and glowier. So yeah, same shade number, but I think this formula is a little better. So lastly, I like to go in with my Sonia G Smooth Buffer and just buff the edges of that blush under the eyes and just away from the center of my face. Buff everything into the skin and kind of around the bronzer on my forehead as well. Make sure there's no harsh lines. And finally, for lipstick, I typically go for, like, again, a neutral nude but glowy, shiny lip day to day. And obviously you guys know that the Dior Addicts are my favorite lip formula for like every day of my life. But my absolute favorite for like day to day is Bandana. Like, how perfect is that? It's the perfect shiny nude. Not too much, not too little, nice and neutral, goes with every makeup look, but it doesn't kind of overwhelm anything. It's not too deep, it's not too light, I don't need a liner. I'm absolutely obsessed. This is probably my favorite shade from that whole formula, and you guys know how much I love that formula. It's my life. I'm obsessed with it. Okay, and here you have it. This is my kind of go-to makeup when I want to be a bit more glam and put together. I have time to spend on my makeup. This whole file, let me tell you, is 36 minutes. And that was from literally brows to finish. 36 minutes with lots of talking and stopping. A couple of times I had to run over to my desk to get things that I'd forgotten. So this is 100% achievable in 30 minutes, especially if you aren't on camera talking things through. You can easily do this in 30 minutes. And I feel like my best, I feel glam and put together, but I also don't feel like so over the top that I'm, you know, going on a night out. And I enjoyed the process. I just feel like that's all that really matters. For lots of people, this will be too much makeup for a normal day. For lots of people, it won't be enough. It's just completely up to you what you want to do. And for me, on the days when I've got time, I've got 30 minutes to do my makeup, this is like perfect. A bit of shimmer, a bit of glam, a lot of glow, but kind of neutral shades. And this is just like my comfort zone and how I feel the most beautiful. So I am off to eat a quiche and some beautiful salad. I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy the rest of your day. I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye, 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 bye.